Welcome back to Game Week 7 Fantasy Managers. This is Devo1099. I have moved. This is a new apartment. Things are a little bit in development. But I've got Martin over here that's going to keep us grounded. EvertonMatrix, how's it going over there, Martin?
Good. Just hanging in there. Looking forward to this weekend's games.
Yeah, there's some interesting games. A lot of mismatches, and then a few games that seem like there could be a lot of goals involved. We got your article up. I like where you're going with a lot of the games. We tend to be in agreement more often than not, which except you tend to disagree with me just for fun, which is good.
Yeah.
But let's get right to it. The big Mondogoal tournaments are going to have the Saturday matches only, it looks like, leaving out the Tottenham City match, which actually should be pretty good. So let's touch on that one quickly. We've got the Spurs coming off their loss to Arsenal midweek at home, White Hart Lane, and City is coming in off of a couple losses, which is surprising after we had anointed them champions after about, 4 or 5 weeks. Now people seem to be dialing off that slightly. They aren't a juggernaut. They're still very, very good, and I would still pick them to win the league. This is a tricky fixture for them, though, because Tottenham can score. They've actually played pretty good defense lately. We've got Son, who's playing on the wing now. Eriksen's back fit. Kane is a shell of himself. What do you see happening in that match?
I think City are going to bounce back and have the edge. I just think they have more players who could potentially hurt you than Spurs have got. You say Spurs can score, but they've not really scored a lot of goals. They've been kind of winning one. And
Kane can apparently no longer score, which is a bit of a problem. De Bruyne's looked great for City. Sterling's starting to catch his groove. Aguero's a little bit off. But I saw something. I think he scored the most league goals against Tottenham than anyone in his career. I don't know if I really care that much about a statistic like that, but if you need something to push you over the edge on Aguero, which you shouldn't, he's pretty good. You think his knee's troubling him, though?
I don't know. I mean, I doubt they'd roll him out if he was having injury issues with the amount of players that they have. It wouldn't really make sense with the long season they have. So I wouldn't really use that as an excuse. I just think he's just not quite got his touch right now. But, I mean, it's bound to come around. I mean, they'll get penalties even at some point as well that he's going to take. So even if he's not scoring from open play, he's going to get some penalties. So, I mean, I think the week that you don't pick him will be the week that he'll probably go off and score a hat-trick. So,
yeah. Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, he's always in play. You're not getting a discount on him at $12.1 million. But this game isn't really going to be included in many contests anyways. So I guess we like City in, I think, maybe 2-1 type match. I don't see Spurs winning that match. And I think that their defense is probably still sort of a mirage, despite their form of late. So let's move to West Ham Norwich. This one's interesting because I still don't really know what to make of West Ham. You can't laugh them off as a fluke completely when they've won at Anfield, at the Etihad, at the Emirates. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't really buy them either. What's your stance on West Ham?
First, I don't think we can include Anfield as anything like those other two places. So
fair point.
But yeah, I mean, it's strange. I mean, they've just the games that they've won on the road, they've just seemed to produce fantastic goalkeeping performances and just had like made the most of their opportunities, and the other team has just like as if they're playing against a brick wall in the goal. It's just been kind of, it's not like they've been dominating these games. They've been like dominated in the games, but still managed to win by like a few goals. Or so it's been kind of crazy how it's turned out.
Yeah.
Turn around and they've lost at home to Bournemouth and Leicester. So it's just weird. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost this game even at home. So
I agree, and I think the bookies agree as well. I think that tip your hat to them for getting those 3 wins. But I think in 2 months we're going to look back and say that was pretty crazy that happened, and this team is not very good. They were similar last year where they were sitting, I think, around 8th or 9th towards the middle of the season, and started reading articles about how they've made some great off-season acquisitions. Then they basically lost all their strikers and just started losing, and their defense was a travesty. I don't think that they've done anything to improve that. And you look at what match was it? Was it Bournemouth where Jenkinson and Cresswell just got obliterated? I think that's essentially what's going to happen. And I'm starting to be fairly impressed actually with Norwich. They seem like they're a team that can stay up, and they've got some fight in them. But from a fantasy standpoint, I'm still looking. I think that there could be goals in this match. Payet has been fantastic. He's 14.4 million, which is a little bit steep. I don't want paying for his 2-goal performance recently. One player I wrote down was Noble, who takes penalties and has drawn 19 fouls in 6 games. I would never be excited about playing him, and I think Norwich has enough discipline. They're probably not going to give up a penalty necessarily. I mean, anyone can, but that just was surprising to me. I still, at 9.4, I don't really like it. Victor Moses, though, at 9 is interesting. Lanzini has been starting, and he's 4.4 million. That is an interesting punt. He should be able to pretty easily get you 4 or 5 points, even if he doesn't do anything, and he could always score. Is there anybody else you're looking at on West Ham, and would you touch anyone on Norwich in this match?
I had Lanzini written down as one if you were going to pay up elsewhere. I mean, 4.4, I mean, it's just, you've got nothing to lose. Jenkinson, 5.2, possibly. I mean, I don't see Norwich scoring maybe more than a goal. The goals they've scored have been kind of weird with the amount of defensive goals that they've scored.
Yeah.
They're still not really getting I mean, that's not repeatable, I would say, on the long term. So, until they start getting goals from their forwards or midfield, then they're not really going to be a high-scoring team ever. So, Adrian 6.9 and Jenkinson 5.2. I mean, that's a solid pairing, I would say.
Yeah, I like that. I hit on Jerome the week he scored. He was down. I think he was down at 4.5 million. He's now up to 5.5. I don't think he's very good. I think that they're going to eventually give Mbokani a shot, from what I understand. So I don't think I would probably mess with either. I guess if you see that Mbokani's starting, maybe he's an interesting punt. But there's enough other players on this slate not to really worry about him. One of which, in the same price range, moving on to the next match, our friend Diouf is just 6 million. It sounds like he's fit now and should be starting. And you look at the support behind him, he's going to have Shaqiri, Bojan, and Afellay behind him, most likely. And Bournemouth's defense, while they've played pretty well recently, but their defense has not been a strong point. I think there's going to be goals in this match. I noticed in your article you mentioned Stoke has been giving up a lot of big chances, which is very rare for them. They're usually a pretty sound defensive side. This game could be a sleeper for fantasy purposes. Who are you looking at?
Diff is a solid option at 6. I don't know what they're going to do. Walters, I guess he'll probably drop out maybe, but if he plays 6.8 and he usually takes penalties, so that could possibly be an option. Like you said, just the other names you mentioned, then like Shaqiri at 9.8 is solid.
Mm-hmm. Bojan 8.8. Your friend Arnautovic is 5.7, but I can't imagine he gets his way into the side. All of Bournemouth is actually pretty expensive though. Richie had that stunning goal, but he's 10.3. He's been better on paper than I think he's been for fantasy. It seems like he's getting himself in good positions, but not a whole lot to come from it. He had that one long goal is really all he has to show. I'm surprised he doesn't have an assist considering their scoring. Wilson's up to 9.5. I don't think that is something I need to be paying for, though. If you're right and Stoke keeps giving up these big chances, then 9.5 could look pretty inexpensive here. But their defenders are up around 9 million as well, and that just doesn't make any sense. So I think that's about covered. I do think that there's some opportunity here. For cash games, I can't imagine that I'll settle on much from this game, but in the bigger contests, I do think there's something there. Next match, which I don't know. Southampton hosting Swansea at St. Mary's. Southampton, when they play inferior teams, can put up 4, 5, 6 goals, which we saw midweek in the Capital One Cup. In the Premier League lately, they've been pretty bad. Pella did get 2 last time out. Mane is always interesting. Tadic is sort of a trap at 6.8 million because he has such a low floor. And then Swansea's, their prices are all based on their earlier form, facing teams that were down a man. I just can't imagine I'm touching this game. What are you thinking?
I don't know though. For Tadic at 6.8, I mean, he just needs an assist pretty much, right? And he gets the crosses, so I mean, the chances are going to be there.
Yeah.
Swansea have fallen off a little, so I mean, I don't hate that choice. I mean, I rolled him out last week, and he was okay. I mean, solid and same price. So, I mean, if you use him, you can still get a lot of good options in. So, even if you want to roll him and Pella together, it's not taking up too much of your.
Yeah, I think he makes sense in a larger contest because he does have that upside. He had a 2-goal and an assist match recently. But if you look at his game log, because crosses don't matter, if none of them get converted, he fouls. He'll get a yellow card here and there, and all of a sudden you've got 2 points from a player, and you can't win doing that. But yeah, I mean 6.8 is not a whole lot. He's probably more of a 8.5, 9 type player, I would imagine, especially taking penalties. So you are getting a discount there. I don't think it's the worst cash game play either, but I guess it kind of depends on where else you go. There's one standout inexpensive player that we'll get to soon for cash games anyhow that should unlock a lot. And it doesn't – I mean, Hazard's at 15.1, but other than that, it seems like you can kind of fit whoever you want. Let's move on to what I think, and you also think could be the highest scoring match of the week. Leicester hosting Arsenal. Leicester's come from behind in 4 straight matches. Their metrics for possession and shots conceded are not really favorable, but they keep getting it done. And you look at, if you look at the calendar year 2015, they've been, I believe, the best team in the Premier League in points. At some point, we have to take them seriously. Can they score on Arsenal?
Oh, yeah, easily. I mean, Arsenal's, that's solid, but, they're prone to games where they'll make mistakes and silly errors, and, Leicester have the players that can punish that, so both teams are going to score multiple goals. So, I just think the difference could be the fact that Cech is a much better goalkeeper than Schmeichel.
Yeah.
So, he might just make a couple more saves than Schmeichel.
You can already sort of envision just a devastating counterattack with Mahrez, Vardy, and Okazaki just shredding Mertesacker right now. Like, can you see that? It's just well, I guess they don't have to play Mertesacker necessarily since Gabriel had his red card rescinded. A couple prices I thought were interesting. Theo's up to 10.7, which is not ideal, but if he's the starting striker, he's probably worth that. Cazorla, who had been too expensive all year, he was up around 14 million. He gets 2 yellow cards, a red card, and he's down to 11.9 million. He's still sort of playing defensive mid, though, so I'm not too excited about that. You got Ozil at 10.9 and Ramsey 12.2. And the guy that I know you're going to take, Alexis Sanchez at 9.7.
Yeah, that's like giving him away. Not give, you know what I mean, but like all he's missing from his game is goals. He's got everything going about his game so far this season, and
he plays for Arsenal.
Well,
they do everything but score.
There's going to be a game where they're going to break down somebody and spank them, and Leicester they're going to have like 70% possession in this game. Arsenal.
Yeah.
Going to keep giving it straight back to them. So I just think that this is going to be his game to score.
Yeah, I like 3 or 4 to Arsenal with 2 counter-attacking goals from Leicester. I think those prices are interesting. Okazaki at 6.5 is good, and Vardy 7.8. He's been fantastic. Mahrez is up to 11.5. I think you can fit him if you want him. There are definitely better matchups than Arsenal, but he's just been so good. It's tough to leave him out. All right. Well, here's the biggest mismatch of the week. Manchester United, who may or may not be able to score goals, against Sunderland, who definitely cannot defend. How many United players are you going to take? The 4 allotted on Mondogoal?
At least.
Well, it's the max, but
yeah. The problem is though there's other games where I can see just as many goals being scored. So, there's a couple of standout players that you're definitely going to take. There's the biggest misprice of the season probably. It's pretty obvious to everybody.
Yeah.
And then I like Depay and Mata. Still don't like Rooney.
Yeah, so the biggest misprice you're talking about, obviously, Anthony Martial at 5 million.
Though
I don't really know what happened there. If you look, there's a couple games he had. where he was coming on as a sub before he came over to United, and then I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense,
I mean, the only thing I would say is that he's only had 4 shots all season, and he scored with 3 of those. So maybe he's not really giving you anything else if he doesn't score, I guess. I mean, that's just one.
Yeah, no, I mean, he absolutely has downside. That I think that, from a larger contest perspective, that you could justify playing 3 different forwards than Marshall. But in a cash game, I just can't see, you've got the team projected to score the most goals in the week. He's probably going to be playing lone striker, and he's below the average price. So I think for double ups and cash games head to head, you just play Marshall and move on. For GPPs, I think you probably play him. But if it's a really huge contest, if you do I think there's 5,500 teams in the £2 contest on Mondogoal. There's definitely benefit. He could be 75% owned, and if he gets a yellow card and doesn't get a shot on goal, which is certainly within the realm of possibilities, he's going to kill a lot of teams. And then you just have to get a forward that doesn't do that. And a guy like Diouf, who we mentioned. Rooney at 9-1, I think, is interesting. He's been pretty terrible. He scored midweek. If he's playing the 10, if they score 3 or 4 goals, it would be nearly impossible for him not to be involved, right? I know you're down on Rooney, but, is there a scenario where you take him?
No. Not unless he's playing Ipswich or San Marino.
Yeah. So you like Memphis at 11.5. Do you like Mata at 12 too? He's been great.
I like those 3 players a lot more than Rooney, even with the little discount. I mean, I just don't see him scoring. From what I've seen, the games I've seen, unless it's a penalty. I mean, his floor is absolute 0, plus the chance of him doing something crazy and getting a yellow or red card is a lot higher than you'll get with an average player. So,
all right. So Darmian is at 8-1, maybe a little steep, but they've got probably a 60-65% chance at a clean sheet here. De Gea is only 6'6", so I think that if you're gonna squeeze in 4 United players, I'd be looking at, for cash game purposes, I'd be looking at Marshall, De Gea, Darmian, and probably Memphis personally. Who's going to play opposite Darmian? It looks like, Shaw's out for the year, and now Rojo's out for a few weeks.
Already Blind.
You think they're going to move Blind out?
I think Blind will be left, and then they'll bring in somebody in the middle, maybe.
Yeah. I saw somebody thought Ashley Young might be moved to left back. I guess if they're not worried about Sunderland, they may as well just stick him back there, and he can just get forward and cross like he would if he was playing left wing anyhow. Obviously, we're not taking anybody from Sunderland, but you mentioned in your article the American DeAndre Yedlin, who is not actually a good football player, but he's very fast. He can send in a cross. He got an assist. I don't see how you'd even consider playing him here, at Old Trafford, but one to keep an eye on for later weeks where in matches where Sunderland may actually have a chance. But just one to keep out. He's really not a good player though, which we'll see how he fares. He was exposed defensively for at least one of the goals midweek, and then he got credit for the assist, but he just doesn't have any ball skills. He has no touch. He's just really fast. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops, from a U.S. perspective, but I think most people watching this don't really care about that. United looks good. We like United. Another match that looks like a mismatch, much lower scale though, because this team can't score, is Liverpool at Anfield hosting Aston Villa.
Yeah, I think Aston Villa should win like 3 or 4-0, so it's going to be a mismatch.
I don't think they could score 3 or 4, but it could be. This could very easily be 0-0, and I don't think anybody would be surprised. Benteke is out. Ings may get the start just because he's been in decent form. He came on and scored against Norwich, and then I think he scored midweek as well. But he's 9.1 million. That doesn't really do much for me. Sturridge may start and play 60 minutes again. He's 9.9. Coutinho is still a little underpriced because of his red card. He's at 10.9. I think that's probably a direction a lot of managers will go. If Jordan Ibe gets the call, he's 4.7. If he plays wing, then that's, I think, a really good price. Magnolia's in play. Klein's in play. That's all I wrote down. What you got? Anything else on Liverpool?
I mean, there's nothing that much to like about Liverpool right now. I mean, even in games where they're heavily favoured, they're just not able to break the teams down. If you look at the game against Norwich, I mean, they didn't really produce that much. And then against Carlisle, who are 3 divisions lower than them, really, they weren't showing that they were the better team in that game. So it's like,
yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, as an Everton supporter, how worried are you that Jurgen Klopp is going to be their manager by January?
Well, as long as he waits for until we play them in a couple of weeks, and
Klopp could turn that team around, because they obviously, they've got enough talent to finish, 5th or 6th probably, but they're not playing like it now. Somebody that is tactical enough to get more out of Benteke and Milner. Milner's done nothing. I usually like Milner, and he's down at 6.9 million, and I don't see how I could possibly play him. He could pick up penalties though with Benteke out. I hadn't really thought of that. Unless Sturridge will take if he's still on. I don't know. I think Liverpool, is certainly well behind United for me, probably behind Arsenal, probably behind Stoke even. But they're going to score goals. They have to, right?
I'd rather, if I'm taking players, I'd take them from the defensive end rather than the attack.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess so. You take Coutinho, maybe Mignolet, maybe Klein, and Moreno because he plays 0 defense but could still get a clean sheet.
Sturridge just didn't look fit in the last game, so I would kind of want to wait and see until I see something from him. So yeah, I just don't really know that you can really hope for more than 1 goal from them.
Yeah, it'll probably be a late Coutinho strike in like the 88th minute to save Brendan Rodgers' job for another week. All right, the final match from Saturday. A team that's going to give Sunderland a run for their money to finish dead last in the Premier League. Newcastle hosting Chelsea. Chelsea's, they got some very favorable decisions from Mike Dean against Arsenal. Then they, played a terrible team midweek, and now they get another terrible team. They're going to be able to turn their season around without actually playing well. I like a lot of Chelsea players this week just because I think Newcastle is really that bad. What are you thinking?
Yeah, the same. I mean, they can't keep goals out, and they can't score themselves. I mean, losing 1-0 at home to Sheffield Wednesday is kind of a real hammer blow on top of the prior games in the Premier League that they've been losing. I mean, you'd have hoped that maybe that would offer them some respite, but that just adds to. I mean, it's going to be a race between McLaren and Rodgers as who's going to get sacked first, maybe.
Yeah. For a GPP punt, just because we have limited respect for Chelsea's defense at the moment, Mitrovic is 3.7 million, which is pretty funny. Nobody else will take him, but he could score. He's actually, I think he's pretty good. He's a head case, but I do think he's pretty good.
He's away.
I think he gets a hat trick against Chelsea. They win 3-2. Not really, but it's possible. Hazard back up to 15.1 million without having actually done a whole lot. He had a deflected goal against Arsenal that I think if people weren't desperate to help him out, it could have been an own goal.
It has now actually been changed to an own goal.
Was it changed?
It's been changed to an own goal by Chambers officially.
Ah, okay. I missed that. So his price goes up for no reason then. One player I think I will have on my cash teams for sure, and he could be an interesting pivot from Marshall on GPP teams, is Pedro at 6.7. But keep in mind, and this was something that last year was abundantly clear, is Hazard really takes on more of an attacking role when Costa's out. 15.1 is steep with fouls cut in half this year, but I definitely like Hazard. What other Chelsea players are you considering?
I don't hate Remy. I see him as the likeliest to start over Falcao. 8.4. I mean, there's a pretty good chance he's going to score. Also, I mean, Ivanovic at 6.4. Now he seems to have finally got his foot in a little bit this season. Begovic 7.3. I mean, I'd say he has a reasonable chance at a clean sheet. But I mean, there's cheaper options like De Gea. I mean, I would prefer De Gea, but I'd say Begovic was top 3 in chances to get a clean sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I mean, you could pretty much go through the whole team and make a case for picking any of those players. I mean,
yeah, I think if you really start to look at breaking down, say a cash team, your strikers, go ahead and plug in Marshall, Alexis, maybe Pedro. Then you can take whoever you want after that. I mean, that's what? That's like 12. That's like a little over 21 million or so. Then you could take Mahrez. You could take Hazard. You could take Coutinho, Shaqiri if you want, Mane, and then you could take some good defenders. I think that there are a lot of different directions to go this week, which I think makes for an exciting DFF week. You want to stack United, and you want to get some Liverpool, probably some Chelsea, maybe Arsenal, Leicester, and then the surprising game could be West Ham, Norwich, some goals there, or Stoke, Bournemouth. The last 2 games, which aren't included on Mondogoal's contest, Watford hosting Crystal Palace and West Brom hosting Everton. Do you think that there will be more than 2 goals combined in those games?
Probably about the right over-under, I would say. I mean, the Watford have picked up a little bit.
Yeah.
And looking at it, Crystal Palace have given up the most shots in the league. So, I mean, with Igalo and Deeney combining pretty well, I mean, there's a chance that they could score maybe a couple.
Yeah. No, I mean, Iglo has the most goals, I think, in all English competition in 2015, something like that. He's no longer a surprise though. I think after 2 goals, he's definitely on the radar now. But yeah, I can't imagine it. Well, there's no contest to play those games in anyways on Mondogoal. So in other competitions, I definitely could see Watford attack. Maybe Everton if you think they can break down West Brom. I don't know if they have the right width to do that though. You know, how are you going to get it to Lukaku?
They'll fail.
Yeah, you guys won't play him though.
I think they were saying that after this last game, he's going to have a hard case keeping him out of the team. So let's hope that this is finally his first start.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up Game Week 7. I think this should be a fun one. There should be plenty of goals available, lots of clean sheets available. So it really depends on what direction you want to go. Well, best of luck to you this weekend in your competitions, Martin. And we'll keep an eye on you on Twitter at WowCows. Was it 777?
The 77.
Oh, sorry, too many sevens. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Martin. Have a great weekend. Best of luck, and we'll see you next week, fantasy backers.